want to go into debt this holiday season and reclutter your home with things that you don't want or need. You also don't want to pay out of pocket for something that's not quite the bargain that you thought it was. Here's how to avoid getting swept up in all of the madness while still not missing out on all of the good deals. And it starts with a simple question. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help you live a simpler, happier, more spacious life. And with Black Friday and Cyber Monday just around the corner, not to mention Thanksgiving and Christmas, this time of year can get expensive. And if, like me, you actually have a lot of birthdays coming up this time of year also, the credit card can start melting. So let's talk about some ways to avoid overspending. And no, I'm not going to tell you to just pay in cash for everything, because the reality is that most of us do at least some of our shopping online, especially in this day and age of plague and pestilence. I'm going to start with the things that you can do beforehand, kind of prepare yourself, but then I'm also going to talk about what to do when you're in the thick of it. You know, when you see something that you're considering buying, or when you're in the middle of purchasing your Christmas presents. Now, I said it starts with a question, and it does, and that is to have, excuse you, no taking in the carpet. No, I'm trying to record here. Have a question prepared in advance, something that you can ask yourself when you are tempted to make that purchase that is going to kind of help you to make a better decision. Let me give you some examples. A really good one is, did I want this thing before? Are you okay there? Can I help you? Before you saw an ad for it or before you saw it in a store. This is a really good one because very often we have not even heard of that particular thing before we suddenly saw an ad for it or saw it on a shelf somewhere, and all of a sudden it becomes something that is essential to our lives, essential to our happiness, even though we've been getting along just fine without it thus far. Is it something that you had actually given some consideration to before you saw it this time around? Also, does this align with my values? So what are the things that you hold, dear to you? What are the things that you feel are your principles, your core principles? What are the things that are important to you? And does this thing align with those values? So if, for example, you are trying to lead a more eco-friendly life, and then you come across a gadget or something that is not, made in an eco-friendly, carbon neutral way, that can give you that pause that you need to actually stop yourself from making a purchase that you might later regret. Similar to that then is, does this thing fit with the goals that I have for myself and the lifestyle that I'm trying to lead? What is the life that I'm trying to create? And does this thing have a place in that lifestyle? For example, maybe you're trying to eat healthier or just lead a healthier lifestyle, and then you spot something that is really just going to encourage you to be sedentary or to sit down for most of your day. Honestly, it was lawnmowers last week, it's the dog this week. I cannot catch a break. I need to just build myself like a silent, soundproof bunker or something. Does this item fit in with the lifestyle that you're trying to create, with the home that you're trying to create? And another really great question is, would I rather have this item or have the money still in my bank account? Just some food for thought, really great questions that you can ask yourself. Have one prepared in advance so that when the time comes, you will know exactly how you are going to make your decision, what you are going to base your purchasing decisions on. It will help you to pause in the moment, just catch your breath, because it's really easy to get caught up in that, frenzy of purchasing. Now, I will say, Black Friday and sales in general are not inherently bad. Sometimes you can pick up a good deal, particularly on something that you have been wanting for a while. It can save you from, paying full price for something. But having a question prepared in advance just ensures that you are more likely to make a rational decision rather than a rash one. Now, if you want to get really proactive about it, now is the time to unsubscribe from emails from companies that maybe you don't want flooding your inbox when it comes up to sale season. You might be able to think of some of them offhand, you know, you already know that you're going to be tempted by a certain company, so you can unsubscribe from those. If you're not sure, you can just go into your inbox and do a search. Generally, something like the word unsubscribe will bring up all of the newsletters that you are currently subscribed to. Then you can just kind of scan through them and see if there's a company that you would like to unsubscribe from, maybe even just temporarily until the madness has passed. Same goes for social media. You can unfollow or mute all of those accounts that are going to be selling you stuff. And again, it can just be a temporary thing where you can, you know, refollow or unmute afterwards, after the danger has passed. Just in general, a really good thing to do is to cut down on your social media usage and your TV time, because obviously the more time you spend there, the more ads you're going to see, and therefore the more tempted you're going to be to buy something that you may not really want or need, something that's just going to be you know, cluttering up another corner in your home. Be proactive, you know, mute, block, unsubscribe from all of those accounts that you don't want to be tempted by over the holiday season. Well, I don't think you can actually hear this, but my daughter has a toy that, you know, you press a button, it makes a noise. Jovi has discovered how it works and she absolutely loves it, and she just keeps pressing the button over and over again. So in the background, all I can hear are all of these like magical sounds. Anyway, next piece of advice I have for you, it's a simple one, but it is very effective, and that is to make a budget, and it can just be a very basic one, and write yourself a list. So what are the things that you actually need to buy, and what are some ideas that you have for those? So, you know, gift ideas, what are the types of things that you might like to buy for people, and what is your budget? Having an idea in advance of what you would like to get someone, or the types of things that you actually want or need to buy, is going to make you much more kind of focused on the things that you do need, and then you can put your blinkers on and you're less likely to see the other kind of peripheral stuff. If you know what you want and you know what your budget is, you're less likely to splurge on something that you really do not need. This always helps me, because I find that if I don't have any idea of what I want to buy someone for Christmas or a birthday or something, I will end up sometimes spending a lot more money than I intended to, because I just don't know what to buy them. So as soon as I see anything at all, I will purchase it regardless of price. So giving yourself some time in advance to think these things through is going to give you a better game plan. And with a budget in place, it's going to make you think twice before you spend on something that is just above it. Next then is also a really simple one, but this one has saved me so much money over the years, not just around holiday season, but all year long. And that is to just avoid stores completely. Number one, if you can't see an item, you're not going to be tempted by it. But also, when you're at a store during sale season, it's very easy to get caught up in the frenzy, you know, that other people are feeling. You know, you see these kind of Black Friday clips on TV and people are fighting over items. And, you know, you might look at that and think, oh, I would never get involved in that. Like, what are those people doing? But when you are in the moment, it's very easy to be caught up in the crowd. You might just be looking at something on a shelf, giving it some consideration, and then someone else comes over and grabs it, and all of a sudden you think, well, wait, no, I was looking at that. I was going to purchase that. And it can quickly snowball out of hand. So if you can, avoid the stores completely because of that mob mentality. It happens to the best of us, but also when you are actually out shopping at a store, there are additional costs that we don't really factor into our budget. So there's obviously the cost of petrol, maybe you've got the cost of parking, you might purchase a coffee, you know, something to eat while you're out as well. There are all of these little hidden costs of actually going out and shopping. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some costs and some kind of impulse purchases that you will make online, but you're less likely, like I said, to get whipped up into a frenzy by, you know, the behavior of others. And you can cut down on some costs like petrol and parking. So if you can at all, avoid the stores, or at least avoid them when they are in that like peak frenzy season. Oh, you're back, are you? What were you doing? Oh, tornado warning siren. It's okay. You're okay. I know. It's okay. I know. Strange noise. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Now, it's stopping. It's stopping. Okay, so you're all prepped, but then the sales actually hit and you spot something that seems like a really good bargain. By the by, I have a video coming up on things that you will always regret buying, so make sure that you're subscribed for that. But in those situations, how do you keep your wits about you and only purchase the things that you actually want and need and are within budget? The first thing, and I have a really great tip for you here, but that is to determine if it is actually a good deal. You know, sales like Black Friday suck us in because we think this is a limited time sale. You know, this deal is never going to come around again and we have to snap it up in seconds or we're going to miss out. But that's actually not always the case. Very often the Black Friday sale price is the same as their sale price at other times of the year, and there have been studies done that show that actually some of the items are cheaper at other times of the year. So Black Friday isn't quite the like deal nirvana that we all think it is. So I have a secret weapon that will tell me whether or not something is actually a bargain, whether it's actually ever been that low a price before. And that is a site called Camel. Not sponsored. What this site does, and I believe Honey actually have a version of this as well, but it allows you to track historical pricing. So you can look back and see how much it was over a period of time, and you can see, you know, what it was at its highest price, what it was at its lowest price, and you can see kind of the ebbs and flows, how often it goes on sale. So that will give you a much better idea of whether your Black Friday deal is actually a good deal or whether this item regularly goes on sale. When you know that you can get an item for that same low price again, or maybe even a lower price at another time during the year, you're less likely to buy into that kind of like limited time, must buy now scenario. It's just a really great way to avoid getting swept up into that panic purchasing mode and to see if the bargain that you think you're getting is actually a bargain. I also have a bonus tip for you here, and that is that Camel has a price drop alert system. So if you are kind of keeping an eye on something, you can pop it in, just put in the link and your email address, and it will email you if that item drops to or below the price that you have set. You will get an email and you can then purchase when it is at the price that you want to pay for it. When Scout was younger, this used to save me so much money on like wipes and nappies and nappy bins, you know, like the refills for them, all those types of things, because I would just set up an alert, and as soon as they had dropped to the price that I wanted to pay, then I would buy a few of them. But yeah, just a really great way to, number one, check if your bargain is actually a bargain, and two, set up those price alerts so that you will only purchase when it does drop to a price that doesn't blow your budget. Also ask yourself what kind of impact the item is going to have either on your life, the life of your family, or even the environment. And I've already touched on this, but is it something that is maybe going to contribute to a more sedentary lifestyle? Is it something that is going to kind of take away from quality family time? Those are all considerations that you should take into account when you are considering a purchase. Again, in the moment, something can seem like a great deal. It can seem like something that is going to add value to your life. But when you consider the long-term impact, how is that going to affect you, your family, your day-to-day life? What is your life going to look like, you know, a month from now, 6 months from now, with that item in your life? It will have to pull you out of that momentary buzz, you know, that shopper's high, that thrill that you get from purchasing something, and actually make you kind of think through, you know, follow through and examine what the impact will be, and not just, you know, in the 5 minutes after you purchase it, or the 5 minutes after it shows up on your doorstep, the 5 minutes after you bring it into your home, but 5 months from now. Is that going to be contributing in a positive way to your life? From the environmental aspect, something that always stops me from purchasing things that I don't need, and I have mentioned it in a previous video, but that is to remember that whatever this thing is, no matter how much you love it, no matter how much you need it, no matter how much you want it, it is going to end up in a landfill someday. I can't tell you how many times that thought has stopped me from buying something. But again, it's just about taking the time to think through your decision. Now, if you can walk away or just step away from it, you know, you always hear that advice to, you know, put something aside for a few days, you know, think about it for a few days and then come back to it, you know, if you still want it after a certain amount of time. But when it comes to sales, it's not always possible to walk away for a few days because you might miss out on a really good deal. But instead, just try and step away for a short while. Even just walk away from your screen, go into a different room, putting a little bit of distance and some time between you and the supposed bargain may make you just kind of think twice. It may give you that distance you need to make a more rational decision. It's easy to just get swept up in something, particularly if you are just being blasted from all angles with, you know, ads, sales, great deal, limited time offer, and you know, you get caught up in that and sucked into it so easily. Whereas just taking a moment to step away, go to a different room, or if you're in a store, just like walk around the aisle or walk to the exit and come back. Something like that can just help to break that spell. I actually did this when I was shopping for my wedding dress. I found one that I thought was the one, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna walk around and I'm gonna come back, and if after walking around I still wanted the dress, you know, I still feel the same way about the dress, then I will put a deposit on it. And yes, I walked around, I came back half an hour later, I still wanted it. So I put down my deposit, never looked back, never regretted it. But I gave myself that space because it was, you know, an investment. I guess like it was a lot of money to pay. I mean, it wasn't extravagantly expensive or anything, but still I wanted to put a little bit of distance between me and the dress before I committed to making that purchase. Now, I said I wouldn't talk about paying in cash, and that is still true. I won't, but if you can, pay with a debit card, and that way you can actually see the money leaving your account and you're not going to spend more than you actually have on hand. But sometimes that's just not going to be possible. Sometimes you have to pay with a credit card. In that situation, ask yourself if you would still make this purchase if you had to pay in cash, or do you have the cash, the funds available to you so that you can pay, oh my goodness, careful, or do you have the funds available to you to actually pay the next bill in full? Can you genuinely cover this cost, or is it worth going into debt for? Because the reality is, no matter how much of a bargain it seems like it is or actually is, if you're only paying minimum amounts off your credit card bill, it's going to end up being one of the most expensive things that you have ever purchased. It is not a bargain if you have to pay interest on it for months and maybe even years to come. Okay, let's mention one more thing before we move on to what to do when you are actually spending money, when you have decided to make the purchase. But before that happens, when you're still just giving it some consideration, it can be really helpful to write yourself a gratitude list, not just for the things that you are grateful that you have, but also for the things that you are thankful you do not have, like debt, like a TV in your bedroom that is just going to encourage you to stay there all day, like a, you know, new games console for your kids that is going to suck up all of their time and take away from family time. But write a list, or, you know, mentally list things that you already have, things that you're already thankful for, and that will give you that mindset of abundance, you know, that you already have everything that you could want or need. But then, like I said, on the flip side, maybe you're grateful that you aren't in debt. Maybe you're grateful that you don't have a massive credit card bill on its way. So write both lists, and that again can help you to just break that spell, take that pause that you need, and give yourself the perspective of whether you actually want or need this product that you are considering purchasing. But let's face it, we are all going to buy something over the holiday season, whether it is gifts, food, decorations, cards. When you have to spend, how do you make sure that you're not overspending? Obviously having a budget can help, but in the day-to-day it can be hard to kind of keep track of it, or unexpected expenses can pop up. So how do you deal with all of that and make sure that your spending is actually on track? My best advice for you here is to actually track your spending. Write down everything that you are purchasing and how much it costs. That is going to give you a very visual representation of how much money you are spending on a day-to-day, or maybe even like minute-to-minute basis. You're going to be able to see in real time how much money you are shelling out. Be sure that you are writing down not just how much the item costs, but keep a running total so that you can actually see how it's all adding up. It's easy to think, oh, $5 here, $10 there. They're all small amounts, but they add up to big amounts. Like I said in the beginning, ideally you would pay for everything in cash, but I don't think that's very realistic in this day and age. So this is kind of the next best thing for actually seeing where your money is going and how much you're spending. Now, it's something that's really simple, but it actually works in two different effective ways. The first is that you will think twice about each purchase if you know that you have to actually write it down and keep your running tally. It helps to create that pause that you may need before you make a purchase. But also then, it's going to get you to a situation where you are not going to be unpleasantly surprised by a massive credit card bill at the end of the holiday season. When you're keeping your running tally, you will know exactly how much you're spending, so you will know what to expect when that bill comes through your letterbox. When you keep track of what you're spending, you are less likely to go off track and blow the budget. You can check out this video for things that I stopped buying when I started decluttering, and I will also link a playlist for you that talks about all different ways that you can budget very easily and save money. Until then, Gurav, Mila Mahagwev, Agus Feki Meshiv Shikalua. Slán! Oh, here she comes right at the end. What are you up to? Guilty head on you? Yeah. What have you been doing? Am I going to find a mess somewhere?